Hello. Our dad is just staring at us, perplexed and confused. Do you want to come and say hi? He's slowly approaching the set.
You can come from the back.
He's secretly proud of us for setting up tripods because he's the tripod king. Do you want to say hi?
Hi. Am I your biggest boy problem?
No, you're our biggest boy solution.
Yes.
Oh my God. What are your thoughts on my podcast?
I'm glad to see that you're doing something that you're good at and that you enjoy doing. Always nice to see you succeeding.
Aww, thanks. Well, first of all, this is Eldest Plank. For people who aren't in the know, he's very famous on Instagram and other social media platforms that he doesn't have accounts on. The first time he went viral was doing Dad on Drake.
Yes, eating ice cream.
Eating ice cream. He's your prototypical, you're kind of like a dad core. Do you know what that is?
No idea.
What do you think it means?
Does it have anything to do with an apple core?
No, but...
An army core?
An army core. Getting closer. We should have a dad core, actually.
Yeah.
Dad core means like, it's like...
The essential of being a dad.
The essence of being a dad.
Essence,
exactly.
Yeah.
So you're the essence. Like you love ice cream. You love tripods. You love maps. Like every time our dad is on a computer on a vacation, he's always looking at a map. And the last time when we looked at your map, what map was it? You were looking at a map to help a lady on a Facebook group find a photo of her childhood school.
It was actually an aerial photo. She was looking for a map, but I gave her an aerial photo of the area where she grew up.
Aww.
And Eldest Plank actually made like a map quilt.
A map?
You quilted different aerial photos together.
Stitched. It's called stitching.
Stitched.
Stitching photos
Quilting,
together.
stitching.
Our dad is very exact with words, with measurements, concepts. There's no vagueness, in the things that you do. You really think things through. He's very excited about the fact that we're going to try and fit all of the suitcases in the car tomorrow and try and drive me to the airport, despite that definitely not fitting. We're going to fit, but you're like excited by trying to fit things into a car trunk.
It's a mathematical challenge.
Yeah, he loves a mathematical
and
challenge.
getting the whole family included.
Yes,
And helping out your family.
Helping out your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's before you were mentioning all the things I love. There's nothing I love more than my two daughters.
It's like Eldest Plank's Venn diagram. It's like family and math.
Yeah.
And packing a car. It's like the intersection of both.
It's packing a car, your daughters, and maps, and you like ice cream. Let's do a shout out, Ben & Jerry's ice cream. You have a very important place in our family. You had a meltdown over the New York Super Fudge.
It has to be New York Super Fudge.
And it can't be $13.
No.
The price was too high. So he gets the full pint. He doesn't get when we go to Vermont.
Well, yeah, and the problem is New York Super Fudge Chunk is no longer available in Canada from what I can see.
Ben & Jerry's, if you're listening.
I think now it's Nestle, right?
Yeah, I think it's Nestle that owns it. Yeah, okay. And this is it. They have a plant, I believe, somewhere in southern Ontario, and that's probably where we're getting ours from in Montreal. And if you go on their Canadian website, you don't see New York Super Fudge Chunk listed anymore.
Oh my God, this is very important.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this. If anyone has information about New York Super Fudge Chunk being available in Canada, let us know.
It is their best flavor as far as I'm concerned.
We know.
We know all about it.
We hear a lot about New York Super Fudge. Flavor of Ben & Jerry's. Thanks, Daddy. Anything else that's on your mind?
I think I've said all the important things I had to say.
My dad is also in my book, In For the Love of Men. Yes. There's a whole chapter about my dad and your waffles. So every morning he's been getting up at the crack of dawn and he's been making pancakes for the entire family and crepes. The last time we went to Vermont, he brought his own espresso machine. Right. He travels with things that you have, like you're a creature of habit. You have things you like and you just do them.
Yeah, well, that's what life is for.
For doing stuff that you like.
Yeah.
Oh, that's deep. Yeah, why? I actually really identify with this because why do things different? When people are like, oh, let's try this new thing. I'm like, but I like this thing. You may see it as boring, but actually it's like, well, I like it already. I might as well do it over and over again. You're kind of a do it over and over again guy.
When I find something that works and I stick to it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your thoughts. What do you think about men?
I think they come in every shape and size and mentality.
They're like ice cream flavors.
They're like ice cream flavors.
Yeah, and I guess you can have a favorite. You can have others that you don't like as much, and
Find your flavor.
people are like ice cream. Yeah.
That's deep. Wow. This got really philosophical. Sorry if you weren't ready for the depth that my dad brings to boy problems. But thank you, Daddy. We love you. Thanks for being such a great dad.
Nice chatting with you. Nice meeting all of you.
People are going to want you back, so be careful.
Yes.
Okay.
People have been asking for more of Andrew Plank in both
And
of
they
our...
will be asking for
They
more.
will be more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Feel free to chime in at any point if we say something stupid.
If we make a mistake.
If we made a mistake, if we make a typo. My dad's very good at catching typos. He used to be a proofreader. Okay, this started off fun. We are on a little family vacation. We are in the North Fork and we are at a Airbnb we rented with our family and we're having a great time. And so we wanted to do a family episode. But I want to introduce all of you to my favorite person in the whole entire world, my best friend and sister, Emilie Plank. Woo! People have been also asking for an episode with you. Well, I already wanted to do an episode with you because you're an incredible person in my life. You're our mini Buddha. You're a Mother Teresa. You can say you always make the right decision. I think that's
No. I think, well, nobody always makes the right decisions.
You're right.
But
You make
it's-
really good decisions.
But it's also adapting
Yeah.
to the decisions that you've made or adapting to. I think it's a lot about making good decisions, but also just being good at adapting.
You're good at adapting
yeah.
into different environments and situations, but not in a way that I think is like self-erasing.
No,
you know,
no.
You're such a caring person. You've been an amazing teacher in elementary school for 20 years.
18.
Whatever. Yeah. We roll it over. Yeah. But look at, and you're like, did she start teaching when she was in the womb? Because she looks so young. If you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, you'll see that she's incredibly beautiful as well. And she's very playful and very goofy. And we've been goofing around since I've been around. I came out and she was like, let's play. Let's make everything more fun. She made everything more special. She taught English and taught socio-emotional learning, which if you're not familiar with, it means basically teaching kids about their emotions, right?
Yeah.
And how to be better citizens in the world. How would you describe it?
Well, I think, to me, it's really like the basis of actually like democracy. Like just being able to know yourself, being able to work with other people, resolve conflicts with other people, being able to be a part of a community where people won't always agree with you, but also like knowing how to connect with people.
Whoa. Wait, tell me more. So I don't think you ever said that to me.
No?
That it's democracy to you.
Well, to me, it's just like the basis of democracy. Like you're learning to be part of a group, but also learning about your opinions and how you feel about something. In social emotional learning, it's about like me, you, and us.
Yeah.
And all of those things are part of like a good democracy.
Yeah.
Like being loyal to your own values, knowing what your values are, but also being able to work with other people and make compromises, resolve your conflicts, communicate about how you're feeling about something, but also being part of a bigger group, of a bigger community. And that, for example, if the community took a decision and even if you don't agree with it, well, you have to go along with it because we're a democracy.
Wow.
You know?
That's really powerful. So what you're saying is so much of democracy, and because we're having so many conversations about politics and how to, we don't need to name names as usual. I always say that because I don't want to bring down the vibes, but there's a lot going on politically. There's a lot going on with democracy, right? We're having so many conversations about democracy and there's like a threat to democracy, but it feels very complicated, right? Yeah. I think a lot of the articles that I read and the people who talk about democracy, how to maintain it and how to mitigate the threat of democracy, it feels very, again, at the political level of our leaders and politicians. But what you're talking about is a kind of preservation of democracy at like an emotional level, that it's kind of the bare basics of being a human being in the world do you think that we're less able to understand ourselves and each other, and that's one of the reasons why in many countries sort of lost our way a little bit?
Ooh, that is a tough question. I'm not saying that I have the answer.
Yes, you do.
This,
don't say that. You're smarter.
I can talk about my perspective.
She's humble. She doesn't need to be humbled. Emmy is so like, oh my God, she'll never, we're the exact opposite. Emmy,
Okay,
you've been doing this for almost 20 years.
What I think. I'll just say what I think. It's that I think that part of the problem that we have in our world today, just in the way that we communicate, in the way that we do politics, but even like democracy, we have an emotional problem, like with just self-regulation, which is just being able to get back to like a calmer state. But you can feel anger, but express it in
a healthy way.
In a healthy way, exactly.
So self-regulation, what does self-regulation mean?
It just means like being conscious of what's going on emotionally, like, oh, I'm feeling anger right now, and finding healthy ways of expressing it, of coping with it.
Mm-hmm. Self-soothing, just having strategies. Right.
And that's not easy, but being able to identify what your need is at that moment.
Yes.
And
Emmy's really good at doing this. Whenever I'm going through something, it'll be a work thing, or it'll be a dating thing, or it'll be whatever. She'll be like, it seems like you need, like your need is this. And I'll be like, that's exactly right. And you usually do it two things. You do, what emotion are you feeling?
The
feeling, and then what's the need that you have?
Yeah.
And what are examples of needs that people have?
One of the main needs is like feeling the need to be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it's from someone you love, or from your family, or people at work. So being heard, respect, there are all kinds of needs.
Yeah.
So I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people have been noticing, that there's something where emotionally a lot of people seem dysregulated or having trouble just regulating themselves.
Yeah.
But another part is, well, the UN has a special commission right now on, in French, it's like le lien. Connection
to
others. And that's something that's really obvious in our society, that we're more and more disconnected from each other. And when you're not as connected to others, it's like you don't have as much empathy, or there's something with your empathy that gets off.
That's where things really go amok or run amok, right? Our dad was just talking about this, how, because I don't have my driver's license, everyone knows, and I saw a Jeep go by, and so I was like, well, if I could get a pink Jeep, I would probably learn how to drive. And then you said, well, if you learned in Montreal, it would be chiller, than learning in LA, like more chaotic. And an example he was saying is like, or you were talking about this, that when you go off on your bike, once at least someone will do like a weird U-turn, right? That like people are breaking rules. And the thing with rules is that, like, I talk a lot about this because I would bike a lot in New York. And when I got back from COVID, because I was in LA for COVID, I was like, there's all these motorcycles on the bike lanes, and it was happening a lot, and I was very disturbed by it. That's a perfect example of like, there are certain social mores, right? I mean, you can get a ticket, and you can, like there's a punishment for not respecting rules, but there are certain rules that you just kind of respect out of respect for other people. And it seems like people there's not as much, is it more incentive or
but like an inner incentive?
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, like the external incentive is you'll get a ticket, but like a lot of things, I feel like there's also an inner incentive, like, oh, I just want to do the right thing because I don't want to cause an accident, or I don't want people to like honk at me and then I'll feel bad. Or
be a nuisance to other people, right? I think another example which people talk about is people who listen to their phones at full volume, or do FaceTimes at full volume in a public setting. So like at the airport or in a coffee shop. And that's a perfect example of like, the police is not going to come and arrest you, but you're just kind of disturbing other people. Isn't that kind of a gut impulse, or isn't it kind of biology too, to want to sort of not be marginalized from the rest of the group?
And I think it's a question of like, we all have a filter, and that like your filter is totally off when you're just listening to something full volume in public, and that like your filter is on. For example, if I go to the grocery store and they don't have my favorite bread anymore, I won't start screaming because I have a filter.
Right.
But if I have no filter, I'm just going to start screaming, and I'm so mad about this situation. But I mean, having a kind of I call it a filter.
A filter. And do you think part of it is that I say this because I know it happens to me? I'll be so immersed by my phone.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what happens to most people. That's why they listen to something full volume.
Yes.
They're just
you don't even
not aware anymore.
Yes. That we're, and sometimes even, I mean, this is really bad, but I'll be walking and I'll be on my phone.
But, I mean, awareness is like the filter.
Oh, okay.
Social awareness, but also being aware of how you're feeling, what's going on for you.
Why don't people have that? What's going on? It can't all be the phone, right? The phone definitely is at play, but I'm very reluctant to just be like, oh, it's everyone's on their phones now. I hate to bring up COVID all the time, and it's not even about COVID. I just think like something happened.
Well, we have more trouble with intimacy in general.
Okay,
that's that
no, but explain that.
Well, intimacy, but even
any kind of intimacy
could be like people having trouble just calling to take an
appointment at the dentist,
and people are like, oh, I prefer going online and just booking myself.
Yeah, what's that about? It's intimacy.
I think it has to do with intimacy. The digital world is more frictionless, and then the real world has more friction.
Tell me about that.
Friction. And friction. Yeah, intimacy will bring friction.
Yeah.
Or like being in a relationship with people will bring friction. And it's like before we were like good at that, or like, I don't know, we just, it was just like, you had no choice.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just calling to take a doctor's appointment, maybe the person won't understand you or there'll be something. But if you're like trying to be friends with someone, or if you're like wearing your bathing suit in a wave pool, you might like touch someone. There might be like, you might see someone, the part of someone's body that you're like, I don't know, not comfortable with.
Oh, that's so interesting. So we kind of steer away from certain connections that otherwise, or 5 or 10 years ago, we would do because there's uncertainty.
Yeah,
that's
and now
involved.
we have like an option of I'll just order some food on an app. Or I'll just do it on because you have this option of like there will be no friction, there will be no like malaise.
Yeah, wow, it makes a lot of sense. But I started taking the robot cars in LA.
Right. No friction.
And I have to say, we FaceTime in one of them, and I was like, I'm so happy because for me, everything you're saying is right, and obviously it's not good that robots are taking jobs of anyone. There's friction that's possible with an interaction, even if you get into a taxi, right? Or if you get into an Uber where you don't know who the person's going to be. You don't know what their vibe is going to be. You don't know what they might ask you. You don't know what song they might play. And these are all small inconveniences. I mean, sometimes not. Like I've had Ubers that have made me extremely uncomfortable, I think in general, but you're right. The robot offers me no friction because there's no risk about it cuts off any aspect of connection and therefore
any risk.
Yeah. So do you think we're prioritizing convenience? It's like the prioritization of convenience.
I think it's like that's how our brain works. Like we like comfort, we like what's easy.
Right.
And so that's why we go towards that.
Wow.
And also I feel like now when we do encounter friction in the real world, we're like less tolerant or less prone to adapt to it.
Yes. And that's so right. We can't,
we'll react. Or we'll be like, I'm never taking a taxi again.
Ever again. That's what happens. Wow. Well, I have learned so much just in these couple of minutes talking to you, Emmy. I didn't even bring up the fact that you wrote 2 books. My sister's a published author. She has written 2 incredible and illustrated 2 incredible books. Both telling the stories of our family lore. The first one was called Les Galettes de Grand-Maman.
Yes.
They're both in French, but you should definitely buy them so that if you want your kids to be, if you want to learn French or you want your kids to be like very impressive when they meet a French person. They'll be like, oh, I read a whole book about a grandmother that was a refugee. But it tells this beautiful story of it's a story about animals, but it is inspired by
our grandparents on our father's side who were both refugees from the Second World War.
From Hungary. And then you wrote an amazing book that came out a few months ago called
Je te tiens par la barbichette. So it's like, I am holding you by your little goatee.
Goatee, which sounds weird, but we promise it's an expression in French.
Yeah, it's based on a little children's song in French.
Yeah, je te tiens par la barbichette, tu me tiens par la barbichette, le premier qui rira aura une tapette.
And then we're allowed to like hit each other.
Yeah, it's basically a permission for violence. No, it's basically like I'm holding you by your little goatee. You're holding me by my little goatee. The first person that laughs will get a slap. But it's like a little slap.
A slapette.
A less slapette. And so Emmy wrote this amazing story. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to
about Barbichette?
Well, it's about the time there was a goat in our car.
Yes. Well, it's based on actually 2 true stories, and with those 2 true stories that really happened, I invented something. So it's that when we were little, we used to always go by a farm on our way to a cottage that we rented, and we'd stop and see the animals. And one day we stopped and we left the car doors open, and then we turn around. We're just like petting animals,
having a blast,
taking pictures, having fun. And then we turn around and there is a goat in our car, and it started eating at
the car, the top, licking the lamp,
the seats, licking the little light switch on the
terrifying
at the top, and like
causing mayhem
in our car. So I think I was maybe 8 and you were 4 or something. And then we are freaking out. Liz is crying.
I was crying.
We're both like, we're gonna stay here forever. It's gonna eat our car.
Yeah.
And our parents, they are the best team, and they just like got the goat out of the car. They pulled. They lured
it with. If this ever happens to you, actually, this is.
Do not panic.
Do not panic. Don't cry. I mean, you can cry. Let girls and boys cry. And gender non-binary kids too. But you need to lure the goat with grass. That's what we did. Lured it with food or grass.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know. I mean, I thought they just like pulled.
They pulled and pushed, and that's when I had a meltdown, because I was like, this is scary. We're never getting out of here.
Yeah.
And then Emmy turned that amazing story into.
And it's also another thing that happened in our childhood was that our mother had a depression, and so I decided, and I really wanted to write a children's story about that, but I wanted it to also tend to children's imagination, and I wanted it to be entertaining, even though it's a difficult subject. And so I imagined like what would have happened if the goat had stayed in the car and we wouldn't have managed to get it out, and then it followed us home. So it's a story about a goat that's actually like living with this family, and the mother has a depression. But it was important to me that this book also be about relationships and like closeness and love, and that's what got us through that difficult time.
Yeah, the laughs, because it's not all. And how you make sense of things, and the goat represents the depression that it can stay with you and you don't want it there, but you can learn to make peace with it.
Yeah.
And then eventually the goat leaves, and spoiler alert. And then
and it was also important to me to show that there are ups and downs when you're dealing with depression in the family. That anyways, our experience was that there were some really sad moments, but there are also moments where things were also just kind of normal, and it's not always 100% darkness. And I wanted to show the nuances.
Love it. That you can get both books online or at your local bookstore. I highly recommend them. They're beautiful. Everyone who reads them cries, okay? Because the drawings are so tender and beautiful and delicate and detailed. I've seen her like work. There's so much detail in what you do. And she's always been it's like incredible to have like an artist in your family from birth. You're like, this person
It is incredible to have an artist in your family from birth.
No, pointing to you. I also would never be the person that I am today without you. Hands down.
Me neither.
Okay. No. Hands down. No, I was a freak, okay? And I would have just not been able to let my freaky flag fly if it hadn't been for you. And we have evidence of it because we've been looking at old VHSs of our crazy time together as kids. And we manifested a lot of things. Let's just put it that way. I've shared some of the videos, but we had a really good time. And so it's such an honor to bring you on this podcast and for you to share your incredible insights about emotional regulation. And we're going to get into some boy problems because you give really good advice. I don't think you understand how good her advice is. It's wild. Like anytime I talk to Emmy afterwards, I feel better. You're always so helpful. What do you think is the key to giving good advice?
I think it's being a good listener.
Yeah.
But also acknowledging what maybe the question the problem the other the other person is dealing with, how it connects to you and being aware of it. You know? Like, so that you don't just give advice to that you would give yourself in that kind of situation. Yeah. So it's like, I think it's about being aware of yourself and being aware of who the other person is and what they're dealing with, and listening to them.
Wow. Yeah. What they want, not what you would want in that situation.
Yeah.
That's actually so real. Wow.
But it's not easy.
It's not easy.
And also, I know that I can feel like I want to save people. Yeah. And so it's also not hoping like, I'm going to save them with just perfect advice. So it's like, listening and...
So really not making it about you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really centering the other person is the main character. Yeah. That's really good advice on advice. Okay, let's start with this first amazing question from Anonymous. Liz, longtime listener of all Liz's pods, first time caller. Woohoo! Okay, here is my boy prob. Or should I say my sister's boy prob? Ooh. This was perfect.
I love it when it's a brother asking about his sister's boy prob?
I don't know if it's a woman or a man. We'll find out. My incredible, beautiful, witty, kind, deeply intelligent, and wise younger sister is in a dead-end relationship. How do I get her to see the light? They've been together for 2 years, live together, but he is, all caps, not it. When she is with her boyfriend, I can literally see him exhausting her with his emotional needs and his inability to regulate his own emotions and anxiety. Oh my God, this is so weird. It's so like connected to what we were talking about. My sister and I have talked about this dynamic, and she acknowledges it isn't great and has even said she's thinking about breaking up with him, but it has been months and it is brutal to witness the relationship drag on when it feels obviously that she is not happy. How can I get her across the breakup finish line without crossing a line and telling her what to do and thus sending her back into his arms? Wow, great question. What do you think, Emmy?
I can tell that this person is really aware. Like, you don't want to pull too hard because you don't want your sister to turn her back against you. Yeah. Like, you want to always keep the relationship, and I think this person is really sensitive to this. I think a big part of it is, continuing to listen to her. Yeah, just asking how she is. At one point, if someone, and I'm not saying specifically for this kind of situation, but if at one point, like, this relationship has been going on for 2 years, and now it's been like several months that
she wants to break up.
Your sister has kind of been complaining about this. Yeah. And I think that, like, I've said this to someone lately, it was more of like a professional thing, but they were talking a lot about it. And at one point I said, but think about the impact of like the decision that you're taking now to stay in this like professional situation that you're not enjoying, and think of the impact it's having on the people around you too. Yeah. That you're always talking about this. But I don't thinking that it's directly for this, but that I think people have to be aware of, like, you're doing this to yourself. Yeah. Staying in this relationship, but it's also having an impact on your other relationships. Whoa,
that's pretty deep, because she might want kids with this person, right? Or maybe they're talking about that. And it's like, you know, if you're thinking of moving forward and maybe getting married and building a family, like that will be something to think about, that if it's already difficult.
For example, your children, but also that it's impacting your relationship with maybe your friends, your sister, your brother, that you're always talking about it. And it's not to stop talking about it. It's not that. That's not the problem. To me, the problem is that you're enduring a situation that you know is not really good for you, and that, it's impacting not just you, but your relationships and your whole life.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't know if this applies to this situation, but I had a friend that would complain, or she wasn't complaining about a romantic situation. She would complain about a friend we had in common, actually. She would talk about it over and over and over again. At the beginning, or for months, really, like, I was like, oh my God, like, that's horrible. Like, I can't believe she did that. I would get her to the point where she would say, I'm going to really say something, and I'm going to, enforce a boundary, or I'm going to have some distance from her, right? Kind of say, like, do a friend breakup. But then she would never do it. And it got to the point where I started talking about it in therapy. And so my therapist at the time was like, you can tell her, like, it's actually really painful for me to hear about how this person is treating you, and that you're remaining in a relationship that's hurting you. I can't hear about it anymore. And it's just too difficult for me. So that also signals to her, like, okay, this isn't just like, I'm not just complaining and it's, this is impacting my relationship with my sister or this person. And it happened with a friend of mine who was in a relationship that was very similar. Like, for months, she'd been complaining about wanting to break up. Yeah, you would talk to her for an hour on a Tuesday morning at like 9 a.m. You'd be like, yes, finally. Like, she'd be like, yeah, this is like, oh, this is not, gonna work. And then you talk to her a few days later and you're like, so did you guys break up? She's like, no, I don't know. And it got to the point where actually I couldn't talk about it with her anymore. And it affected our relationship. There's a difference between, I don't want to hear about your problem anymore. No, and like, it's hurting me to see you hurt yourself.
Well, that it's hurting our relationship.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't want to hear about it or you're a bad person. It's just at one point it's taking room that should be left for other things.
Yes.
But also,
that's a good point.
If this is called man keeping.
Ooh, wait, tell me more.
Have you read about man keeping?
I've seen it a little bit, but what can you define man keeping?
Well, I feel like she's exhausted by tending to her boyfriend. Well, okay, this is the sister's perception
yes.
But anyways, it's someone who's tending
the listeners
to the emotional needs and his inability to regulate his own emotions and anxiety. So it's like taking care of this man.
Yes.
So I would also maybe say, like, to this woman, what are your emotions and what are your needs and like what's going on for you? And also, do you want this to be your life project?
Yeah.
Or like, do you have, like, maybe there are other projects that you want to spend time with, and it's like this might be like your life project.
Yes.
And you're gonna
fix this man.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe will never be fixed, and that you can't do that.
Well, I had a friend say this to me recently. We dated 10 years ago for, briefly, and we've remained like really good friends. We hadn't talked in a really long time. And I was like, what's my problem? Like, why don't things work out, whatever, with relationships? And he was like, don't pick projects, pick men, right? Like, don't pick a project, pick a man. And I think a lot of women, it happens to men too. Everyone falls into these codependent sort of patterns. When you're in that relationship, you're so focused on the other person, because if you regulate them, then you're okay, right? But she's not attending to what she needs and what she wants.
And I feel like I've been in that kind of situation where I have a man kept, but you'll see, like, I would tell this person, there are plenty of people that you don't have to raise and help regulate, and this is like something that might never he might never be able to regulate.
And I say this a lot, this is for his benefit. And you've taught me this. You often talk about how in a conflict, usually we'll think that there's two people involved in the conflict, but there's so many different actors. And like, I think he's definitely an actor in this. And even if I was his friend, I wouldn't want his girlfriend to be managing his emotions for him, right? Like, I think this is preventing his own healing and his own growth. Basically, both people in a codependent, relationship, both of them are limited when they're in that dynamic. So it doesn't even help him, to be tended to in this way.
I think the conclusion is just like, keep listening to her and being there for her, but also ask her about like what her feelings are and what her needs, and that needs can be connected after like to actions. So it's like, okay, what are you going to do to respond to this need that you have? For example, if you need peace, if you need like just things to be calm, well, what are you going to do about that?
Yeah, what you going to do about it? Also, I will say, you're bringing up such a great point. I was in a really difficult friendable
and there are lists of needs, like on the internet you can find lists of
where do they find it? Because we know about the feelings wheel. That's like a Googleable thing.
And it's all the feelings and needs, like, kind of theory. It's nonviolent communication. So it's NVC, and you search for, they have like sheets with feelings and then a sheet with needs, and you can just go through that and it'll help you. Okay. Well, that's great. And it's a good thing to just literally, when you're feeling dysregulated or just overwhelmed, whatever it is, just pull that up and then be like, okay, what am I feeling and what is my need? I feel like so often when we're giving advice, well, first of all, she's focused on him and his needs. And so if you two are still talking about him, you're actually still feeding into that dynamic. And so I would really put the focus back on her. I mean, that's what you're saying with her needs. And I would signal, so I was in this very painful friendship dynamic that I couldn't get out of.
And so many people in my life were like, you know, you knew about it and listened to me so many hours talking about it. I had many people in my life that gave me really, really great, you know, sort of listening and advice around it. But the thing that made me actually finally break from it was a person in my life being like, I'm really worried about you. You know, it was no longer about the other person, what they were doing and trying to manage it and be like, oh my God, I can't believe she's doing that. It was like, I'm really worried about you. You seem to be X, Y, and Z. You seem really depressed and you seem like you are very helpless. She labeled me and how I was acting as opposed to focusing on the other person. And I thought that was like really helpful. Or looking back, I'm like, oh, that was the thing that made me go, okay, I have to take care of myself. And it was a mirror back to me that was like, yeah, I'm extremely not well. Hopefully this helps, but this is so common. You're such a good sister.
Right.
You know, you're so caring. I know some people say, don't say anything. I'm team say something. I'm always team say something. Like in my life anyways, I'm like, I don't want to look back and be like, I could have said something I didn't, you know?
But I think saying something like, you know, for example, that your sister deserves so much more than this. Or like being like
that.
Like, yeah, like there are other like much better opportunities for you. And, yeah.
You're doing great. Thank you for writing in. Okay. As a social worker and just human, I know conflict isn't a matter of if, but when. However, I have this distinct perspective, or I guess observation, that people are struggling more and more to converse through the conflict. I know conflict resolution is a skill to be developed, but it seems like we have so much happening in the world right now that even as a social worker, I'm struggling to fully grasp how to communicate and manage possible tension points with peers, relatives, colleagues, and ultimately as a man. Like, where do I start? There's almost a multi-wide scale analysis going on right now. I feel like we are waiting for some shoe to drop and that everyone is struggling to communicate and work through these conflicting times. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but thought I'd pose the question at least. I think this is so real.
Kind of what we were
literally discussing. So thank you for your question. You are not alone and you are not crazy. Maybe it's not that we're bad at dating. Maybe it's that we're bad at conflict. Like, we don't know how to fight anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes back to what we were saying about friction.
Yeah.
That we're not as used to conflict, or it's like we react really strongly.
Yes, strongly.
Strongly either by just shutting down.
Avoiding,
or by, being really extreme about it.
How do we become better at conflict?
It's hard. Conflict is hard.
Yeah.
But like we were saying before, that our brain likes it when it's easy, but it's also sometimes having conversations where we tell people, well, for sure it has to be like a trusting environment. If you were going to tell someone that, like, oh, it was really hurtful to me when that happened, or so I think it's being kind of street smart too about how, like, who you can address a conflict with. Like, if it's someone that you know you can trust, or it's an environment that you trust, well, you can talk about it. If it's just someone that you'll never see again,
it might not be worth it.
Not worth it. If it's something like you're a social worker, so I'm guessing it's, well, you were talking about how to, like, with colleagues,
how to manage possible tension points
with peers, relatives, colleagues,
and as a man.
The work that I do with kids, that it's a lot of like awareness of what are my feelings, what are my needs, but that when it's people that you don't know, or it's just in the street, you can just, it's not important who wins in those kinds of conflicts.
Well, also, isn't the whole approaching it as don't try and win, try and be happy, right?
Or
like,
try to be fair.
Try to be fair.
I think it's just, being fair to the relationship. For example, I'm coming back to, like, for example, with a coworker. So being fair to the work relationship that we have and that we both value. Telling the other person how you feel about an incident. But at the same time, if you don't feel like the other person is coming at it with like fairness, or then you just it's knowing what conversations are worth your time and which ones aren't, and what I often hear or try and think about is like, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And I think one thing that I definitely did way too much of is like approach conflict from like, but I'm right and I need to know the person acknowledges that I'm right, and I find that's rarely going to lead if it's
to
from a place of ego.
Right.
It's rarely beneficial.
Yeah.
There's no easy answer to this complicated question.
Maybe the answer is like, it is hard right now.
Yeah.
And it's not you, it's 2025. I don't know. It helps me anyways when sometimes I'll look back and I'll be like, there's just a lot going on in the world. And one thing that I think we don't often think about is that we are part of society, right? Like society is this, society is that, our culture is this, our culture is that. You are a culture maker. You are part of society and you actively create society just by being a part of it. And so you in your interactions can also it's sort of like be the change you want to see. If you wish people were more compassionate, be compassionate, right?
Yeah, but
like,
also set boundaries. If that's what you need to do.
If
to have
people are
compassion
disrespectful,
to
yes.
yourself or, yeah,
yes.
but, yeah.
We'll be a compassionate person, and that means to yourself and to others, people.
Yeah.
I have a friend who was like, be the happy person at the airport. Like, be the patient person at the airport, right? Like, and I think about that often when I'm in a bad mood and I'm like people are in my way and my flight's delayed, and I'm like, I'm gonna be the person that makes the airport better. You know, like you don't agree?
Well, no, it can be that, but it can also be like, I'm going to take responsibility for my attitude at the airport.
Well, that's what it is.
But
and I'm just gonna.
And you can just decide. Yeah, you can say, okay, I'll be the happy person, but I'll just be like the person who will just go sit down and listen to her music.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do.
Like that, if that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I think what I mean is like, if you find that people are lacking kindness at the airport, for example, just like, I'm going to be extra kind. And then that adds kindness to the airport, you know, like, I think it's that. And then often because you're kind, then people will be kind to you. And so it also changes you can change your experience. Okay. Last question, because we have to go make dinner. Our mom wants snacks, and we have this obsession that is very like immigrant household coded, where we have to finish all of the food that we have. We cannot throw away.
Yes, we are on a family trip, a week long.
So we're going to make a dinner, and we're going to use everything that's left in the fridge, and it's going to be awesome. So, okay, the last boy problem we have. Hi, Liz. I got into a full-blown screaming fight with my sister over a cheese board. I was making one for my cousin's baby shower, and she kept rearranging my layout while I was doing it. Then she said, "You're being a little controlling, just like mom." And I completely snapped, like ugly cried. Now everyone thinks I'm the unstable one, but no one is acknowledging the fact that she's a Virgo who ruins everything I do. Do I apologize, or do I send an itemized receipt for the manchego? This is from Julia. Okay, our biggest fight. Do you remember our biggest fight?
It was when mom and dad were gone on vacation. Yeah.
Over the Toblerone.
Oh, it was so terrible.
No, you were not.
But we were young. We were young,
and I had a very difficult new job at Subway.
Yeah.
Guys, I had a 3.5 hour career at Subway sandwiches, and it was the most stressful job I've ever had. It was definitely like a manic episode. I think I was like, there was just a lot going on.
And it's also like, it was the first time our parents had left on vacation.
I was 18, you were 22, I guess. Yeah. And what was the Toblerone? There was a chocolate bar.
Also, like, they hadn't left us that much money for like groceries.
Yeah, because why would we fight over a chocolate bar that hard?
I think that like they had left us money for groceries, but like not quite enough.
So I took a job at Subway. And then I did this really awful thing. What should I say it?
I can't remember.
Well, basically,
I remember we had a big fight.
We had a really big fight, and I hid in my closet because I was so sad because I love my sister so much. And it's so hard when you fight with your sister.
Yeah, no, it was terrible.
But we fought a lot as kids. We got along a lot more. But also, and then we were watching old videos, and like, you know, we just snap at each other. It is really remarkable because I think it's the most special relationship you can have.
Well, that you can have like the most terrible fight ever. Like, I've never had a fight with anyone like that with anyone else. But at the same time, like, there's so much love. We got over those fights.
We don't even remember.
Yeah.
What was it? The Toblerone? Like,
it's about silly stuff.
It's about silly stuff.
Silly.
Someone did ask on Instagram when I said, you know, should I have Emmy on? They were like, ask about fighting over like stealing each other's clothes.
Yeah.
And that was a one-way street. She was not stealing my clothes. Let's just put it that way. There was one person that was cooler, and it was her. And it got so bad. Cool, because I had undiagnosed ADHD.
But you were younger.
So But I stained or lost a lot of items. So I was really bad at stealing.
Yeah, because she lost my Adidas pants.
Oh,
my Kangol.
Kangol hat, I remember. It was the
like
worst day of my life.
And lost my stuff.
Oh my God. I'm so
my favorite clothes.
So like, I remember the day I lost your Kangol hat. I remember that it was got up from the bus. It was such a cool hat, you guys. It was red, like a beautiful orangey kind of red.
Nice red.
And it had a Kangol logo. And if you're a millennial, you know what that means and how important that was. And I remember like getting up from the bus and then realizing I didn't have it and literally being like, do I walk into traffic right now? Like, should I just end it? Because and at that age, whatever, I was like 12. I was like, you have no way of repairing your own mistakes. Yeah. You know, there's no like,
I'll go buy one.
I'll go on Amazon. Like it was just like, oh my God, I'm going to have to first tell her that I stole it and then be like, you will never have it back.
I can't fix this.
I can't fix it. And then I would stain things and then I wouldn't like know how to clean it, you know, like, or like, again, I was bad at like cleaning up after my own footsteps or whatever that expression is. So what would you tell Julia?
First of all, when I'm reading this, I'm like, but what is your past?
Oh, yes.
Because
good question.
For sure.
It's deeper than the cheese
deeper
plate.
than the cheese board. But yeah, I'd be curious about like, what is your past? What is what led to this?
What's
like
the question
in
behind
the last
question?
20 years.
Yes.
I mean, there's history here.
There's history there. So you're doing something and she's rearranging it while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Is this a pattern? Is this something that she has done a lot and in ways that are, you know, but it is always, sister fights are like this. Like the Toblerone like was about a deeper thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what it is in relationships.
Yeah.
You'll be like, the sock drawer, like, you know, and it's not about the sock drawer, you know, it's about something so much bigger.
Yeah.
And so I would look at what's the issue behind the issue? Is there a feeling that you have that she is controlling or that she thinks the way you do things is less good than the way that you do things?
Something that could be magical with this situation, I think would be, because we don't know what led to this, what your past is, but if you just took a few minutes and looked like at a list of feelings and needs, I would be curious to know like, what is the need that you had in that situation? Like when you completely snapped, something went on for you or something happened. Even like many times when people go through the list, you do the feelings first and then you do the needs. And when you go through the list of needs, you might even start crying when you see the need.
That's so true.
And I would be really curious. Like I'd love to be next to you as you're looking at that list of needs and seeing what it was for you. And then maybe you trying to like, when it's a good time for you, just try and think like, well, maybe what was her need or maybe how she felt. And then, but it's not to tell her, like, I think you needed this, but it's just like for the empathy exercise. Yeah. And then if you want to have a conversation with her, you could, or if it's just like clarifying it for yourself.
Yeah. That often the way that I feel like I decide in my head, like, you're acting like this because of that. Like, you're doing this because, and I will be so sure of my own opinion that is rooted in absolutely nothing. And with a zero, data about what's actually going on in that person's brain. Yeah. But it's hard to actually realize, like, you actually don't know what's going on in your brain, and she doesn't know what's going on in your brain, right? She might just be like, why are you freaking out about the brie, dude? And you can be like, this is about 1999 and the time that you stole my boyfriend. I don't know. Yeah.
And sometimes, like, even like a metaphor that I've often heard about conflicts is that it's like an iceberg. Like there's just like a teeny part that you can see above the water, but it's like it's huge what's underwater. Yeah. So I feel like that's what's going on here. Yeah. And
go down.
Yeah. You have to figure it out.
But it's totally common. Sister fights there's so many good sister fight memes and sister memes out there. And
but there's something about that your relationship is really intimate.
Yeah,
like if
that's
you can
true.
Like
that's
snap
true.
Like that, and that there's so much emotion that can be expressed. Yeah. It means that emotion emotions are allowed in your relationship. So that's really
so true.
Positive.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
You didn't write like, and then I went up to my room and cried by myself and didn't tell anyone, or it's like you really expressed it.
Yeah. So be proud of yourself. And you're right. It is intimate. And that means that there will be friction. So on that note, thank you so much, Emilie, for joining us. You are incredible in my life. And now everyone else who listen will know exactly why you are the best person ever, in my opinion. And hopefully you'll come back onto Boy Problems. By the way, if you want to write Dear Emilie, I won't be mad, so that we can have you back. If you have specific questions for Emmy, please send them. Also, people can buy your books, as I mentioned, Les Galettes de Grand-Maman, Je te tiens par la barbichette. Your Instagram is Emilie.Plank, and you'll see a lot of photos of my dad and a lot of photos.
And my Instagram is, a lot of it is in French because I'm French Canadian. I live in Montreal.
Yeah,
but
so get ready.
But
it's very bilingual,
and it's very visual.
It's very visual because it's Instagram. So it'll help you be more French, which
is great.
It's the best thing ever.
And also, like, Instagram translates everything now.
It does.
Well, a lot. Often I'll see stuff translated.
Cute.
Anyways.
Okay. So you've no excuse.
Have fun.
We adore you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all your comments on Spotify. One of my favorite comments is from Komal Minhas. She's in the Bestie Club. She's a really good friend of ours. We are
fans of her.
We're fans of Komal. She left a comment saying, "You are now singularly responsible for the surge in BSB streams today."
Yes.
From the last episode that was about the Backstreet Boys. And Erin LaChapelle, are you maybe French Canadian? LaChapelle?
Maybe.
Okay, Erin LaChapelle, we see you. She said, "It just feels like a girl's chat. Happy to be here." Aww. All the comments are so sweet. Thank you for leaving them. I love seeing them. Please keep sending your boy problems. I'm in the process of adapting the form so that it's a little easier to fill out. So stay tuned for that. Leave us a review if you like this podcast. It could just be like, "We love it," little hearts, more, because it helps us beat Joe Rogan, because that's the ultimate goal. That's why I started this podcast out of spite, and it's just to beat Joe Rogan and make sure that the downfall of democracy is just slow down a little bit. Just a little tiny part, trying to make the world a better place. And if people like Joe Rogan, that's fine. I'm just like, it's just like a goal of mine. Like, I just want to see our podcast next to his and us being like toe to toe. That would make me really happy. So we're having so much fun releasing episodes on Tuesdays that I wanted to release an episode on Thursdays too. Or sorry, Fridays. That I wanted to release exactly a fun weekend episode. And I'm thinking of calling those episodes Hope Core, like it's its own little show inside our show. And that will be released on Fridays. And so stay tuned for that. And let's keep growing this thing. We adore you. Thank you, Emilie.
Thank you.
And
it was so much fun.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. I love you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Bye, everybody. See you next week.